One of the hardest things about life is that some of the more challenging times you face are going to be prone to break you down even if you think that you're prepared for things like that. You're going to go through things and you're going to just wonder how on earth I got here and how I get out of this seemingly terrible situation that I find myself in. I want to talk about the idea of there being value in tribulation. That's the subject of my little piece today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 2nd of May of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, the podcast on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloutHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. On Locals, that's Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com. On Minds, MINDS.com. On the Kurt's Religion and Politics group primarily there, on Parler, Gab, Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be seeing or hearing me today. Again, the subject for today is value in tribulation, and it's a question, and it's a really important question to think about and to talk about. And this came about, my talking about this subject, because of someone who was kind of saying, I'm getting tired of all of this tribulation, and I'm getting tired of people trying to tell me that this is actually, they didn't say valuable in particular, but that tribulation was working to my benefit. And I want to talk about this for just a moment, okay, and kind of clear the air on how I see things and why. But I want you to understand that one of the things that's going on in my life is I've had 3 family members die, four family members that I was not super close to all of, but that I was relatively close to, die in the recent past. I've had car accidents, a couple that were both other people's faults. I've had various things going on in my life that have made my life more difficult. I've got a debt situation going on that I'm trying to master right now, and I think I've finally almost got a handle on it. And all of this difficulty is going on in my life, and I promise you that I'm not enjoying any of it. But I want to go ahead and go through my notes real quick to kind of give you an idea, to kind of set that baseline of where I am in my discussion today, in our little talk that we're going to have today. Why do people insist on saying things like, one day all you've been through will make sense? Is there only value in traumatic times? And I'm going to answer that because I don't do it elsewhere. The answer to that is obviously no. There's value in all times, but actually traumatic times have a special place, and I'll get into that a little bit as I go. Is there something beyond this planet that will cause everything to be put into a context that will make it all make sense? Here's another interesting question. Is it maybe true that things would have been worse had the terrible or hard things that occurred in your life not done so? Is that possible? I think pretty much everybody goes through times when they look at, or that they look at and wonder, why me? I get that it's not fun, and we're rarely ever excited to deal with such times. If you ask me whether such a viewpoint, one of regret or ruing going through such a situation surprises me, the answer is simple. Of course it doesn't. Truthfully, I fall into that funk myself. I'd be lying if I tried to tell you that was not the case. I'm sorry, that would be a lie on my part. Ultimately, though, as hard as it can be to do it, I not only have to shake it off, but I have to come to an important realization. If you're a Christian, you've probably heard the biblical verse in Romans 8, and verse 28 in particular, that says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purposes." To his purpose, it actually says, to be clear. If you're not, you may not believe that, and I kind of can't blame you. And you're on your own. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're on your own. But for those of us who rely on the saving grace of God in Christ, this should be a cornerstone of who we are. If it's true, does that not mean even things I don't like or understand are intended to work together for my good? Doesn't it mean that? I would certainly say that must be the case. I want to be clear about this, though. That doesn't mean it will be easy for us to go through many things we'll be tasked with weathering. The simple truth is this: learning and growing pretty much require discomfort. You fell on your butt a bunch of times when you were learning to walk. Sorry, that's how that worked. My son hates certain parts of video games, and I have to challenge him to take on those pieces. It's hard, Daddy. He doesn't want to do those things. I know, it's nothing like losing your mom. Trust me, I do understand that. Like it or not, though, I believe, and I think all Christians should believe, God is using all of that to your good, whether you understand how or not. Am I saying you shouldn't be broken or at least saddened by going through those things? Not at all. Of course you should. That said, in the end, remember who controls it all and what his ends for allowing various things to happen might be. In fact, are, to be more correct. If you can get to a place where you're able to do that, God can make the best of things happen in your life, whether you believe it or not. Okay, I'm done with my notes. Look, I've dealt very recently with a whole bunch of things that have been quite hard on me. I lost my mother. I lost my sister, my oldest sibling. I just lost another family member who actually means a lot more to me than you would imagine. I've been through a couple car accidents. I'm still waiting for insurance to pay on the last car accident, and it's really important that they do so. They're trying to haul off a car that I'm still driving because the car has basically been totaled. I've been going through an awful lot of stuff. And this is all on top of the things that I'm doing, like looking after a moderately autistic 9-year-old basically by myself. And yes, it's hard. But I believe, and I think that Christians must believe, that it's the purpose of God for me to deal with those things, and it's for good cause that it is happening. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my microphone. I see it's blowing out a little bit, and I don't want it to do that on you. So I'm trying very hard to get it to adjust to where it won't blow the doors off of your audio system or whatever. Hopefully that'll work. In any case, and so this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Look, yes, it's hard. Nobody's trying to say it's not. Okay? I'm not. I'm certainly not trying to tell you, oh, it's easy. No, but I am trying to tell you this. I believe that God works what he does the ways that he does for our purposes. That's what I believe is going on there. Okay, so I'm really trying to get people to recognize this, because there's this tendency for people to want to say, I don't want to hear that. It doesn't really matter whether you want to hear it. There are things that you're going to have to hear that are going to be tough. There are things that you're going to have to go through. They're going to be equally hard, maybe harder. And I'm sorry that you're having to go through those things. And I'm not trying to smirk or act overly wise or anything like that. It's hard for me too. But ultimately, I have to come to the conclusion that whether I understand what's going on or not, God is working those things in my benefit, and I need to accept that that's the case. So this is what I'm trying to get others to get. Those who I have seen talking about this and talking about how they're really tired that it's happening to them. You know, I get it. I'm not sitting here trying to say you shouldn't be tired. I'm not sitting here trying to say things shouldn't break you down and hurt you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to take care of yourself and do things for yourself that you think are going to help and make you better. I understand that there are certain things that are going to scar you or that are going to stay as open wounds for a very long time, and I'm sorry that all of that's true, and I am not trying to say that I think what I'm going to do is fix it, and I am not by any means trying to rub salt in those wounds. I promise I'm not. But I want for you to understand, whether you see it now or not, I believe God is working for you to your betterment. And I honestly believe he does that for people who don't even call his name, who don't even count him their Savior. I believe what happens is we look back at our past and we go, wow, look at these things that I've been through. And ultimately, I think what happens is if we end up being saved, we end up going, wow, all of these things were really to my betterment. I looked at myself and I see that that's true. It's hard to accept, it's hard to imagine, it's hard to believe, but it does not change whether or not that's true. And this is what I'm kind of trying to get across today. It's not easy, and I'm not telling you you should, how can I put this? I'm not trying to say to you, buck up, and I'm not trying to say to you, shake it off and be done with it. I'm not trying to do those things. I'm trying to let you know that I believe God has purposes, and I believe He's working those purposes. Yes, they're hard. And I believe that discomfort is necessary for you and for me, and I don't like it. I'll be the first to acknowledge I don't like it, and I'm pretty sure you don't either. Okay, this has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 2nd of May of 2022, that beginning of the work week for those of us that work the Monday through Friday work week as a rule. That means tomorrow will be Tuesday, the 3rd of May of 2022. Hope things are going well for you on this Monday. I know that sometimes it's a little bit hard on that first day of the week. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on mindsandmynds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group primarily there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be picking me up today. Subject for today has been the value and tribulation, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the idea of offering correction. I heard somebody say something about how you shouldn't do that because you're not responsible to fix the rest of the world. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. First, I want to start by saying you kind of are. I want to start from that perspective. But I want to really kind of get into this tomorrow and hopefully explain why it is that I believe what I believe about that. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you on tomorrow's, that would be Tuesday the 3rd's, edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Monday, the 2nd of May of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, minds.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. candlesticks. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.